You're listening to Sound and Vision on Six Music with me, Miranda Sawyer, and my guests PJ Harvey and Seamus Murphy. Should we talk about the Ministry of Social Affairs? Because in the film, the thing that really made me laugh is that you're saying to the saxophonist Terry Edwards, when he's trying out his sax part, you're kind of going, it sounds like you've got a lot of screaming children in there. And he says, that's what you like?
He did an amazing sax solo on that song, which Seamus caught, and it was just one take. He hadn't tried anything before, and I'd described to him what I was looking for. I can't remember exactly. I was saying,
I think you said something like, play it like you haven't been playing for 5 years. Like you've been in prison, you haven't been able to play a saxophone.
Like you can't play, and I want it to keep climbing up, like you're climbing up a ladder, and then it like falls off the top of the edge. And so then he went and did this long take, and it was incredible. And I remember actually an audience was in at that time, the other side of the glass, and we heard their applause. It was that good that they all like completely just couldn't contain themselves afterwards. Yeah. I remember having to run over to Terry and embrace him and kiss him and say thank you afterwards. And he said, "Be careful what you wish for," something like that. But no,
I can
brilliant
do anything.
player.
Yeah. I loved his little shrug at the end. He did this whole extraordinary solo, from Hell and Heaven, and then there's this shrug.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about aspects of the film that are interesting to Polly Harvey fans, which is essentially the tracks that are not used on the album. So the whole film's called A Dog Called Money, and there is a track, A Dog Called Money, but that didn't appear, did it?
Oh, no, it's not on the album. No, it just didn't. It didn't work with the other songs, really. When you're putting an album together, you have to balance the songs and what supports each other, and there just wasn't a place for it. It wasn't a strong enough song.
It's interesting because when you watch it, you think, "Oh, this is great!" Like I was like, "Oh, why did that one disappear?" But I suppose it's after the end of the process. There's more process to go through.
Yeah. I mean, there's another song at the end of the film called "The Age of the Dollar,"
which
which I loved. I remember during the session, Flood and I absolutely loved it. And John Parrish, who was also producing with us, said something like, "Over my dead body, is that going on?" And I remember saying, "But John, tell us what you really think." But no, he was he hated it. He absolutely hated it. He thought it sounded like a jam in a pub, so he didn't. But it ended up as a great piece for the end of the film, didn't it? Almost like it was made for that.
Yeah,
really.
But I remember being in the room in Somerset House, and the buzz amongst all the musicians was, "This is amazing. This is really cooking."
Yeah.
And so we were determined to leave it in the film, just find the right place. And I think where it is
it's perfect.
Yeah, and then you've got Dollar Dollar.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you're learning all the time, Polly, when you're in places like this that you've never been before. But it's quite interesting to be in those places and then come away and you make an album from that. That's brilliant. But did you feel you learned anything else from those experiences?
Oh, yes. So much. I'd never been to countries like that before. I'd never seen poverty like that before. I'd never met such people, extraordinary people, especially the Afghans are so warm, give you anything and welcome you into their homes and give you all they had, even though they didn't have much. I feel so lucky to have had that opportunity to see how other people live, and I've lived a very privileged life. So to step into that, I think it enlightened me in a way I'll never forget or go back to how I was before. And also just through the luck of meeting Seamus and someone that could travel and had travelled a lot in countries like that, had the experience that I could just, come alongside him and learn in that way. I just feel very lucky to have had that in my life, and I'll never forget it, and it has changed me.
The thing is, at the beginning we said, look, this is a crazy idea, we'll see how far it goes. If either of us don't like what's happening, or we don't believe in it, we'll just walk away from it. And that was a kind of commitment, right? That was a pact we made. I thought with Afghanistan, Polly would bring back something so extraordinary from that place. And I love Afghanistan, I've been travelling there so many times, and I thought that it needed something else other than the journalism we've been reading about. I mean, people have written amazing things about Afghanistan with a lot of insight, but I just thought Polly and her art would bring another level of understanding, and I think that was the case, and that was worth seeing how it went, because I was worried. Obviously, you go to Afghanistan, this is not an easy place, anything could happen.
Yes, you could, something could happen to a much loved artist.
Well,
and it's all down to you, Seamus.
Can you imagine me coming home?
What would Six Music
where's
do?
Polly? Oh, yes, exactly.
How to stop the murdering by now we should have learned. If we don't get a new painkiller for the native people.
You're listening to Sound and Vision on Six Music with me, Miranda Sawyer, and my guests PJ Harvey and Seamus Murphy. And how did you find going to Washington? Because it does have a different feel, of course, because it's partly a feel that we feel like we know this, because American culture is very prevalent, and because hip hop culture is also prevalent. There's a sense when we go there, you think, oh, I kind of slightly understand this a bit more.
Well, we spent nearly all our time in Anacostia, south of the river, where it's extremely poor, only black, really. And as a writer, going there, I was looking for words for poems initially. I wasn't thinking about songs at this stage. And what I was drawn to were the similarities with some of the poverty that we'd seen and the problems that we'd seen in Kosovo and Afghanistan. And I was also interested in the atmosphere that was there. I actually felt probably more frightened in DC, in the areas of DC we were exploring, than I did in either of the other places. And that was curious to me.
And why was that? It was more threatening?
Just the atmosphere. It was, a level of anger and the unsettled feeling, but a different level of anger I felt there. And also, I don't think I'd ever been in that position before, that I'm pretty much the only white person in a large black area, other than Seamus. And, and I'm a small English girl as well, and just feeling very out of place, and trying to conduct myself appropriately in those situations to manage the situation we were with whoever we were with at the time. So, it was... in some ways, it was like seeing Washington for the first time, because, whenever I'd been through there before touring, I never would have gone to a place like that. And you only see the initial facade of what DC is. So it was fascinating to me.
In fact, we were told, remember, people were saying to us, don't go to Anacostia. Don't even drive through Anacostia.
They were saying, don't even get out of the car.
And if you go to Anacostia and you're driving, don't even stop at red lights.
God.
And we just thought, well, we'll go to the metro, we'll take the metro, we'll wander from the station and stick to the main street to begin with, Martin Luther King Boulevard, and see where it goes from there. And we ended up going into a barber shop, had a great chat with his barber, took some pictures there, and then went to a pizza shop. And there was a Turkish guy and his wife who were running a pizza place, and we were chatting to him. Oh, you're from London. Oh, you're new here. Let me I'll get someone to cover for me. I'll drive you around. So he drove us around 10 minutes, and he said, see those kids over there? They're really interesting. That's Pawnee. She kind of runs a little gang, and she's amazing, and she controls them all. You should talk to them. And so he dropped us off there and took off, and we were left with them. And that developed into a whole relationship, really.
And she is amazing, Pawnee, isn't she? She's so charismatic. Yeah. And it's very interesting to me. So she's a gay woman leading a gang, and she takes on loads of masculine tropes. You're kind of like double taking. You're like, is she a boy? Is she a girl?
Yeah.
Is she a boy? Is she a girl? She's really interesting, taking on that to move within that environment.
Yeah, she rules the roost. And no one talks back at her.
No.
I've seen it where someone said the wrong thing, and it's fireworks. No, it's fascinating. Yeah.
I feel like we should now move to A Dog Called Money, because in the film we move from the kind of kids who are around Pawnee playing dice and rapping. So we're in Washington, and then we go to Somerset House, and you're writing kind of two versions. Which one? Or an amalgamation, or warmth and swagger. And it's kind of interesting taking those things and then seeing where they go.
Yeah. I think Seamus has captured really well the process of the artistic mind, and I just think as artists, no matter what medium you're in, you're just absorbing, like a sponge absorbing things, and there's this slow process of it sort of composting inside you, and then it starts coming out again in different ways, and I think that's really caught well on the film. You can see how I'm trying to experiment with sounds, singing that I'd heard, or just reflecting on the images that I'd seen. And I remember in the studio having some of Seamus's photographs with me on my music stand to help remind me of what I was trying to capture.
And what happens to the songs like that then? I mean, other than the bit they're recorded on the films, do they just get put away like little sad pets in a drawer?
We call them orphan songs.
Yeah, look what happens. I feel sorry for that song.
And they do have their moment at some point. I mean, case in point, I recently did some music for Shane Meadows' The Virtues, and an orphan song was used as the end title credits that had never been used anywhere else. So they wait for their moment and then they come out.
And which song was it then?
That song was The Crowded Cell.
Oh, that is so funny. We really wanted to play The Crowded Cell, so I'm going to use this as a cue. We can play The Crowded Cell.
As an example of orphan songs, yes. I'm